Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and welcome to my video, June 2020 Astrology Aries Must Knows. We have a crazy month, possibly one of the busiest astrologically of the whole year, with 2 out of 3 eclipses happening this month, the eclipses in this cycle. 2 of them are happening this month. We've got Venus retrograde still. We've got Mercury retrograde. We also have the June 30th Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, which is the second pass of 3 passes of these mega life-changing aspects that are affecting everything in the world. So we've got another hit of that, and we're going to talk about all of this in general and specifically how it relates to Aries placements. So the first thing to know about this month is that it is going to carry a lot of emotional energy. The Mercury shadow period starts June 2nd. The retrograde starts around the 17th, 18th, lasts through July 12th. Post-shadow period going through July 26th, which means that for June and July, we've got the energy of Mercury in a water sign, Cancer, that does not flow in the direction that Aries energy flows, okay? It doesn't mean it has to be bad. It just means it's an adjustment with how you do things. And this whole month is an adjustment with how you do things in a lot of ways, because retrograde energy brings you inward and backward. Aries energy moves forward, right? So it's already kind of a stretch trying to redirect your efforts to be in motion and be productive within the containment of the circumstances, okay? So we've got a lot of emotion this month, and that can be for better or worse. We've got a massive focus on home and family, housing, real estate, working from home, schooling from home. We've got this wild new eclipse cycle, which is super favorable for Aries placements, so we'll talk about that. We've got the ending of this eclipse cycle in Cancer and Capricorn that has been very challenging for Aries placements. So if you've been having difficulties over the last 2 years, since the middle of 2018, then you will be rejoicing, because in June and July, these eclipses tying up the loose ends of all of this work and home and family mischief stuff that's been going on, you're going to be able to move into a clean slate with the closing of that. We've got a lot of energy in Gemini, which is a really good thing for Aries. And part of that also has to do with the continued retrograde in Venus, which rules love and relationships and beauty and money and design projects, kind of bringing you back to the old school in those areas of life where you're kind of like getting the stuff done around the house that you've been needing to do, getting some of the little design things that you're wanting to do, revamping, clearing clutter, getting things, kind of worked out in your closer vicinity. Sometimes Aries energy just is like, whoa, we're all the way over here, right? But now with the things that are going on and the transits that we've been experiencing, that's been contained more within your home sector and your family sector and your emotional sector and your relationship sector. So that trend does continue this month, although I am hoping that with all this Gemini energy, it will be safe for us to move about the cabin a little bit, and that is a strong possibility. So we'll also talk about this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, which is a big deal, and we'll see exactly where that's hitting for you all. So a lot of the things I talk about will be true for all Aries placements, but I am going to differentiate out depending on where you are in the Aries spectrum. And this is my little grid. So Aries, early Aries are basically March born, or 0 to 9 degrees, middle around April 1st through 10th, or 10 to 19 degrees, and late April 11th through the rest of the sign, or 20 to 29 degrees. Okay, so let's use the early chart just to talk about some things for everybody, and then as we can differentiate out here. So for everyone, all the Aries placements, all of this Gemini energy is good news for Aries. This makes a beautiful 60-degree angle. That's the predominance of the energies this month. Venus is going retrograde in that way. So it increases the odds that the things coming back from the past that Venus is bringing, the relationship things, the money things, the design things, it increases the odds that Aries will experience that in a positive way. So like you getting to do some of the things around the house that you wanted to do, some of the things that needed to be done, and that being a pleasant experience for you. Also, bliss coming back in your relationship, or you getting to see information that will help you with moving forward, which means you don't have bliss in your relationship and now you're starting to try to figure out what you're going to do different. It also can be bringing clients back from the past, money back from the past, money that somebody owed you, or something having to do with your business or a job or something like that, where there's some link to the past, and that's a positive thing. All right, so I hope that that's manifesting for you. The odds are increased that it will. Then the second thing is there is going to be a ton of emotion this month because of the Mercury retrograde and the solar eclipse. So your emotion, other people's emotion, heavy emotion, sad emotion, bittersweet, happy, excited, elated emotion. It's going to be a very emotional month, even amidst these energies that are kind of mentally active and physically active. There is a possibility that with all this Gemini energy that could represent moving out back into the world, but it's hard to tell because people are going to be in different levels of quarantine and restriction throughout this time. You know, everyone in the world watching this may have different stories of what this can look like. But if it doesn't manifest in physical busyness, like going out and doing things, then it will be a lot of virtual online meetings, catching up with friends, talking about business things on the phone or online, you know, things having to do with devices, writing, figuring things out, planning, as much as you can plan, you know, like you'll find the things that you can plan for and the things you can't plan for. But there are certain things that you will be able to manage working on and moving towards. And those things will likely be very busy. Things having to do with expressing yourself and getting your work out in the world, or continuing projects where that's already happening. Okay, so you notice that this third house is, oh wait, one more thing to mention. With the the Gemini placements, that 60-degree angle is the ingredients on the counter angle. Okay, that means that you often have to do something with what comes. Okay, I also call this the Annie, where's my pie angle, because this is where we have the ingredients. People hand you ingredients on the counter to make a pie, and then you pass by an hour later and say, where's my pie, right? But the pie, you have to make the pie. Someone gives you the stuff to make it, and you have to actually make it. So you might have to take action. And that's not hard for Aries because we like to take action. I have Aries rising. I'm in the middle degree sector. And this is a good indication that some things will come in for you to work with, okay? And a lot of those things might have a tilt to the past. So editing, you know, a lot of Aries are going to be editing and writing, going back over old writing or creations from the past. Okay, so notice this third house. Look how full it is. That's for early. Let's see, middle also, and for late. So no matter where you are in the spectrum, the third house is brought up. So let's talk a little bit about what that looks like. The third house is actually the house of Gemini. And so this has to do with sharing information and taking information in. So researching information, taking it in and putting it out. We've talked about that with some form with the writing and things like that, but it could have to do with researching, figuring out things that you're going to do in the future, planning future trips, things like that. This also has to do with communication, refining your communication, and actually communication topics coming up. And because all of you are actually going to experience the solar eclipse in the third house. Now, early degree placements, those of you towards the beginning of the sign, you're also going to have some influence in the fourth house here, and we'll talk about why. But all of you are going to have the energy of it in the third house as well, because it's at such an early degree. So even though, well, may as well just talk about it right now. If you're a savvy astrology student and you say, Annie, why is the Cancer eclipse affecting me as an Aries in my third house? And the answer is because it's at 0 degrees. So we'll call like 0 degrees, if this were a 0 degree Aries point, this we'll put a 0 degrees Cancer point. That means even for the very early placements, it's right on the line here. When something's on the line, I've taught you many times, right? If it's on the line, it's not just on the line, it goes in both directions. So it's here and it's here. But with every day you march into the Aries sign, this drops back. So every day into the sign means the eclipse falls further and further and further into the third house. So like if we're just using this as a guide, okay, so 4 degrees rising or whatever you're watching for, your sun, okay, brings the 4 degrees there. Well, 0 degrees is going to be moved over, right? And then over here, when you look at the middle degree, where is 0 degrees now? Okay, if this is 9 degrees or whatever, 0 degrees is now more in the third house. Then if you look further for the later sign, 0 degrees is going to drop back even further into the third house, okay? So just wanted to show you guys that. Now, what does that mean? It means new beginnings, with anything having to do with cousins, aunts, uncles, relatives that aren't your family, although you may have that too because the eclipse is in home and family for everybody. Things having to do with vehicles, transportation, RVs, you know, anything like that, something going on there. And it could just be a trip. It could be travel, and it could be things open up to make travel plans again. All right. And if you want to see more about how eclipses tend to manifest in the third house, watch my video on that topic that goes just into that. So if you look for eclipses in third house or Gemini, search for Annie Botticelli in this. Okay, Annie B, you put the Botticelli in there, third house or Gemini, then you can find it. Also, you can just go to Annie Helps You TV or go Annie Botticelli YouTube. On my homepage, I have a whole eclipse cycle series of videos, and specific for Aries is going to be this eclipse in the third house. Now, for all signs, but then with some extra oomph for the early degree placements, you're going to watch the eclipses in Cancer or fourth house. Okay, because that we've talked about how it's going to influence on the edge there for the house placement for the early degree placements, but because it's in the sign of Cancer, which rules the fourth house, everyone in the zodiac is having this be relevant. New housing, real estate, you know, home, family, ancestry, new addition to the family, new addition to a house, new, you know, whatever, house stuff. Then you can see more details about that in that video. I also recommend that you watch my eclipses in Sagittarius video because that's the June 5th eclipse. And if you want to see exactly where that hits in your chart, watch my May videos and I'll show you. But for now, just know that that's a nice angle for Aries. And those of you in the middle degree sector, so basically like, you know, April 1st through 10th, the closer to the 5th, the more intense. That's going to hit in a beautiful angle for you. So expect things to light up in an even bigger way. But it's good for all Aries placements. Okay, so while we're on the eclipse topic, this eclipse at 15 degrees of Sag, full moon on June 5th, that's starting that eclipse cycle that I told you about that's going to be so favorable. We've been working with these very difficult angles with the Cancer Capricorn have been squaring. All of the eclipses have been squaring your placement in some way or another, either very strongly or weakly. But for 2 years, we've had very hard time with these eclipses. So now with the one here at the end of June, the solar eclipse we've been talking about, and the one beginning of July, that's the end of that. And now these Sag ones are making the 120 degree angle that is the most favorable in all of astrology. Okay, so that's going to do that. And then they'll also be in Gemini, the Sag Gemini eclipse cycle. They'll make those nice 60 degree angles. So we've got for the rest of 2020 to 2021 through all of 2021 with this nice eclipse cycle. Those of you who are writers, speakers, teachers, things like that, you're really going to have your work light up in a big way. Aries people already have their work lit up because of the outer transits that have been going on for a long time. Speaking of which, I also wanted to talk about the boom. So Pluto and Jupiter getting together, part of this mischief. If you haven't already watched my video called How Astrology Explains the Coronavirus and the Systems Breaking Down, then you might want to do that because it might have some mind-blowing things in there for you, okay? It's pretty intense and very, very detailed. But a little summary is that Capricorn rules systems. Pluto, when it bumped into Capricorn for the first time in 2008, first time in the hundreds of years in 2008, bam, the markets crashed, right? The real estate market fell, the lending, the banks fell. And that was because Pluto came and said, this isn't sustainable. Pluto and Capricorn, anything in Capricorn, these outer planets say, is it sustainable? Then Jupiter comes, amplifies the issue. By the way, Jupiter was also there during that crisis and said, hey, let's make the problem bigger, bring it to a head so that we can seek solutions, because that's what Jupiter does. So there's this big boom and this restructuring with all the individual systems, also skeletal structures of the body. Your joints might be under more duress. And the world systems are in change, and all the things that weren't sustainable have come down. The new systems are being built. The questions about sustainability in every area of life are being asked, and the new systems will be built with this question in mind. So for Aries placements, you're having that boom in the 10th house. Okay, so that's early, middle, keep losing my guy here, and late. So besides the things that you've already seen go on, which can kind of give you some indication as to what may also happen, you can see this is all in the work and career sector. So even though it's in a challenging angle for you, it still can bring amazing things to your career and work and your place out in the world for those of you who don't need to make money, like your purpose and what you're doing here and what you're offering to the world or what you're here to do. But it's in a challenging angle, so it can blow up in an amazing way, like a positive way, like expand further than you can imagine. But it's probably going to cause you to work more than you want to, or cause difficulties in your home space because your career is blowing up and now you have this work-home issue. So this polarity of the Capricorn-Cancer thing that's been going on for Aries has been kind of forcing progress in a lot of ways, and it's been pulling you in two directions, with your home and family pulling you in one direction and housing, and your work pulling you in the other direction, and here you are like being drawn and quartered in the square. But I know that a lot of you have, including myself, have experienced amazing outcomes for both of those departments, the home and family, but it's been a lot to juggle. And so kind of expect that that's going to be continued. And all of the progress that was made, the Sagittarius Gemini eclipse cycle is going to be able to like get you into a new ease and balance with the things that have been created over the last couple of years. So I'm really excited about that for us. All right, so overall a super intense month, a bunch of things on our side this month, a few conflictive things, but those are moving away. It's always fun when we can look at something challenging and say, yeah, that part's going to probably be challenging, but to say, but that's the end of it. Of course, that I'm not saying that's the end of the challenges you have in life, right? That would be ridiculous. But certainly the closure of the challenges from this eclipse cycle will be fading. So that hopefully you'll really be feeling that, and you'll see this new ease and expansion coming from the next eclipse cycle. If you'd like to know more about the astrology going on now, I have a ton of resources. You can't even believe it. A lot of them are linked underneath the video. So if you click on more, the little arrow underneath, you'll see my Venus retrograde resources. You'll really want to watch that because there are a lot of things to know about Venus retrograde. There are caveats, there are guidelines. Venus rules love, beauty, money, design. So you'll want to really know about that. And definitely especially check out my Venus retrograde blog because it encapsulates the video, but I've also added to it over years with things that people have asked. I've fine-tuned it, so you can get a lot of details there. You can also search for Annie Botticelli Mercury retrograde. Definitely watch my coronavirus video. If you want written horoscopes by me, often talking about different things than we talk about in the horoscopes, then you can go to cozybysweetstarlight.com. If you resonate with how I teach and you want to learn, then I love to teach you. I've got a very comprehensive, very detailed course that can bring you to wherever you want to go with your astrology studies. It's called Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery Course, and many people who take it are not even interested in professional astrology. They just want it for themselves and to help their friends and family. So you can see that and all of my courses, including some free courses, at my school, Luminous Life Multiversity, at lumelife.com, L-U-M-E life.com. I've also written a very detailed, beautiful, comprehensive guide on how to align with the natural rhythms of the universe in my book called Planetology. So you can find that for pre-order by searching for Annie Botticelli Planetology. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.